The boy's fists trembled as he sat beneath the bleeding sunset. His chest heaved, his eyes burned, and his heart felt like it was splitting in two. Moments earlier, he had struck his best friend. Words had turned to shouts, shouts to anger, and anger to blows. Now shame gnawed at him like fire. "Why?" he whispered, tears dripping onto his dirt-stained hands. "Why do I feel like there are two people inside me? One begging me to forgive, the other screaming to destroy?" The forest around him was silent. Only the rustling of leaves answered him, until he heard footsteps. From the shadows emerged his grandfather, Alaric. His white beard glowed in the twilight, and his staff tapped the earth with steady rhythm. His eyes, old yet sharp, seemed to pierce the boy's very soul. Alaric sat beside him and asked gently, "What weighs on your heart, Elias?" The boy swallowed his tears. "I hate Jonah, grandfather, but I also don't. I want to forgive him, but I want to hurt him too. It's like there's a war inside me. Why am I like this?" The old man looked toward the horizon, his voice deep as the mountains themselves. "My child, inside every person there are two wolves. One is darkness, filled with anger, envy, pride, and hate. The other is light, filled with kindness, love, compassion, and peace. And they are always at war." Elias's heart raced. "But which wolf wins?" Alaric turned to him, his eyes like burning coals, and whispered, "The one you feed." Those words lodged themselves in Elias's soul like seeds buried in soil. All night he could not sleep. He lay awake, imagining two wolves pacing inside his chest, one with snarling teeth and glowing red eyes, the other calm, its fur white as snow. The next morning, Elias sought out his grandfather again. "Tell me more," he begged. "How do I feed the good wolf? How do I starve the bad one?" Alaric smiled faintly. "Ah, if only it were that simple. Life is full of choices, Elias. Each thought, each word, each action, it is a meal. When you forgive, you feed the good wolf. When you hold on to hate, you feed the dark. Both wolves are always hungry. You must decide who eats." That day, Alaric took Elias deep into the forest. The air was thick with pine, the sun flickering between leaves. After hours of walking, they came upon a small clearing where a bird lay with a broken wing. Alaric knelt. "Here is your first choice." Elias frowned. "It's just a bird." "Just a bird?" Alaric's voice hardened. "Even the smallest life has meaning. Now tell me, will you leave it to suffer feeding the wolf of indifference? Or will you help feeding the wolf of compassion?" Elias hesitated, then carefully lifted the trembling bird. Together they made a tiny splint from twigs and cloth, then placed it safely in a basket. As Elias watched the creature rest, warmth filled his chest, soothing the storm inside him. "Remember this feeling," Alaric said. "It is the good wolf's strength." But lessons are easy when the forest is quiet. One afternoon, older boys mocked Elias. "Look at him," one sneered. The old man's little shadow, too weak to stand on his own. The others laughed, pointing. Shame burned in Elias's chest. The dark wolf snarled, "Show them your strength. Hit them, prove yourself." He took a step forward, fists clenched, then stopped. His grandfather's words echoed, "Each choice is a meal." Elias drew a deep breath. "I don't need to hurt you to know who I am," he said, and walked away. The laughter stung, but when night fell, he felt lighter, freer. Alaric listened to the story with pride. "The dark wolf often shouts, Elias, the good wolf whispers. That is why you must learn to listen closely." Years passed. Elias grew into a young man, taller, stronger, wiser. But as he matured, so did the problems of Hailstone. One summer, no rain came. Fields cracked. Rivers shrank. Hunger gnawed at every belly. Families who once shared bread now argued over drops of water. At a village meeting, chaos erupted. Voices clashed like swords. Fingers pointed. Threats flew. Alaric rose slowly, leaning on his staff. His voice cut through the noise. "Listen to me, friends. Inside us all are two wolves. Tonight, one of anger and blame, the other of patience and unity. Which one will we feed?" The villagers grew still, but doubt and hunger clouded their faces. Then Elias, now nearly a man, stepped forward. His voice shook, but his eyes blazed. "We cannot control the skies, but we can control ourselves. If we feed anger, we will tear Hailstone apart. If we feed compassion, we will survive together." Silence fell. Slowly, people began nodding. That night, instead of hoarding, the villagers pooled their food. The hungry ate. The weak survived. The good wolf had been fed. But wolves do not vanish, they wait. Elias learned this as he grew. When his childhood friend Jonah married the girl Elias loved in secret, jealousy tore at him like claws. When his mother fell ill and died, bitterness whispered, "Life is cruel, feed me." Some nights Elias failed. He lashed out, envied, resented. The dark wolf grew fat. But each dawn brought a choice. Slowly, painfully, Elias learned to forgive, to let go, to rise again. When Alaric finally passed away, Elias wept at his grave. "Grandfather," he whispered, "I thought I would conquer them, but the wolves never leave." And in his heart he heard the echo of his teacher's voice, "They never leave." Elias, the goal is not to destroy them, but to choose every day which one you will feed. Years rolled on like rivers. Elias grew old, silver-haired, his hands wrinkled, his eyes filled with the weight of memory. Kalestone flourished again, rebuilt through unity and wisdom. One evening, Elias sat beneath the great oak where his grandfather once sat. A boy approached, his grandson, his fists clenched, his face dark with anger. "Grandfather," the boy cried, "I fought with my brother. I feel like something inside me wants to hurt him, but another part of me wants to forgive. Why am I like this?" Elias smiled, his heart swelling with both sorrow and joy. He placed a trembling hand on the boy's shoulder. You have met the two wolves." And so the story began again. The truth is, the two wolves live inside you too. Every insult you've ever wanted to return, every jealousy you've ever felt, every kindness you've ever shown, these are the meals you've been feeding. The wolves will never leave. They will fight until your last breath, but every choice is yours. So I ask you now, as Alaric once asked Elias, which wolf will you feed today?